Okay. I left Port Alberni yesterday morning about 10 o'clock with good intentions of making it to Lake Cowichan, about 86 kilometers on logging roads, and well, with the best intentions. I didn't even make it out of Port Alberni before the carbon fiber seat post that I bought from AliExpress broke. So I had to get the aluminum replacement one. And by the time I got out of Port Alberni, it was closer to noon, 32 degrees Celsius. And my route was taking me on the side of the mountain that's exposed to the sun all day long. And the long and the short of it is, after many hours on logging roads, that some of the inclines were up to 22%. And it was the loose kind of gravel that you can't even stand on the pedals and try and challenge the climb because the back wheel just spins out. And a lot of the other gravel was just like big chunky stuff, like with square edges on it, and it was uh, it was numbing to say the least. Like my feet were numb, my hands were numb, my butt was numb, everything. And after I guess 7.5 hours on those logging roads, I decided to, I'm not going to make it to Lake Cowichan tonight. It's still a ways off. It's still like 25, 40, 40, 44 kilometers from where I was on off this logging road called Museum Creek, Maine. And I turned off Museum Creek, Maine onto Rift Creek, Maine. And it was like there was never even a truck up there except to lay down the big chunky square gravel. It wasn't even gravel. It was like I'm not kidding, this big. And just bouncing all over the place. There was a lot of places where I couldn't even ride my bike down because the brakes wouldn't hold. I was just skipping from rock to rock, and then the front wheel would turn this way and the back wheel would skip over that way. And so I just decided to walk down those ones. And there was a lot of walking. I mean, they shouldn't even be called logging roads. They should be called walking roads when it comes to bicycles. But there were some nice patches, especially Bamfield, Maine, coming out of Port Alberni. And well, Anderson Avenue turns into Bamfield, Maine, and then or China Creek, Maine. You pass the China Creek Provincial Campground, and then you're into the gravelly logging roads. Um, so I got to this point on Rift Creek, Maine. That was like I said, it was very bad. It was it was almost impassable. It was like I thought Kamut was playing a joke on me, like okay, Bamfield was too nice, so this is what you get now. And I decided it was about 7:15, somewhere around there, and I had come to the conclusion that I wasn't going to make it to Lake Cowichan. So why punish myself even more? Why not just get a good night's sleep and an early start and hit it again in the morning? So I was looking around, and of course, there's no flat ground in logging land. Um, but the flattest ground I could find, it was still, gravel covered, and chunky gravel. And the more I thought about it, the more I decided, what's another 10 kilometers? I can do 10 kilometers of this easily, and I'll be maybe out of this type of terrain, and onto something a little bit smoother where I could make up some time. But anyway, so what I was thinking, I took my backpack off because that had all my extra clothes in it, like 5 jerseys, 5 pairs of padded shorts, 5 pairs of socks, first aid kit, toiletries, yada yada. Anyway, even after lightening the load as much as I could, it was still enough of a load that it was punishing to wear that backpack, because bouncing like this and the backpack bouncing on your back, and it just it just wore me down. So anyway, I took the backpack off and I took my tent off the frame where it's lashed to the frame, and decided I was going to just do that. But then I decided not to, and so I lashed the tent back onto the frame, took a big sip of water, and started pushing my bike up this hill. And then I was presented with some fairly smooth downhill stuff where I was hitting like 45 kilometers an hour, and then it gets all chunky and ruddy and holes and bouncing all over the place. And I got to this really beautiful waterfall, and so I stopped there and took a photo. And I was riding away. I was this song from elementary school, like from third grade, stuck in my head. I think it's called "The Happy Wanderer," and the chorus goes "Valderie, Valdera, Valderie, Valdera," and maybe that's why it stuck so long. Anyway, one of the verses, the first verse, is, "I love to go wandering along the mountain track, and while I go, I love to sing a knapsack on my back." And as soon as I thought knapsack, as soon as that rolled through my mind, I went, "Where's my knapsack?" Because where I stopped was like 45 minutes ago. Chunky this, chunky that, chunky this, chunky that. And I thought about what was in it. Looked at the time again. Okay, by the time I got back there, it would be dark. And I would be camping on the gravel. And so I decided to press on. I mean, I bought most of that stuff off of Temu anyway. So this jersey, for example, was like $11. Okay? And the padded shorts, similarly priced. Socks were cheap as chips. I think I got 5 pairs for $10. I don't know. Anyway, they're, I mean, merino wool and everything, but yeah. I decided to press on, and when I got to a campground, after spending the night on the Vancouver Island Trail, which is basically a jeep trail. It's not a cycling trail or a hiking trail. It's mud holes and big gravel and all that sort of thing that jeeps love to play in. So after that, and I was going down along okay, I came off of Riff Creek onto Nitnat, Maine, and then from Nitnat, Maine was Vancouver Island Trail, and then the next road was, I believe it was called either North Shore, Maine. Yes, it was called North Shore, Maine. That turns into Yubu, Maine after a while. So anyway, I came upon this campsite, and they had, water pipes coming out of the ground that were, fed from a creek across the road and up the mountain. And so I filled my water bottles, and I talked to the campground supervisor and about the whole ordeal, about camping off of and in the dark too. My flashlight didn't work. 2 fully charged batteries. Pulled them out of my saddlebag here. Tried to turn it on, nothing. Changed the battery, nothing. So I had to use the light on my phone, okay, just to find my way down Vancouver Island Trail to a suitable spot where I could throw the tent down. And I just perched my phone up on a tree or on a stump or a fallen log or whatever, just to give me some campsite illumination. Threaded the poles in, it was a whole thing. Threw the sleeping bag in there, crawled inside, done. And it wasn't too bad. It was pretty good sleep. I didn't get up till 8 o'clock in the morning, so I was in bed by 10:30 and didn't get up till like 8 o'clock. So lots of sleep. And then when I got back on the road, I talked to the campsite supervisor, And he said, "Oh yeah, you're only about 18 kilometers to Yubu. And there's a store there, and just tell them if anybody turns in a Roots backpack with cycling clothes in it, then give me a call." So, and he also said that if anybody comes along here and drops it off, I'll give you a call and I'll drop it off at the Yubu store, so you don't have to make your way all the way back here. Thanks, buddy. His name's Dave. And so we went to the Yubu, or I went to the Yubu store, and I told them what happened, and they said sure, they'll keep a lookout for me, because I told them I'll be back in Lake Cowichan in like 4 or 5 days. This is just like the first leg of the route that I plan to take, just on southern Vancouver Island. And yeah, so that's the deal with that. Down to one set of cycling kit, and I'm on my way to somewhere to wash that, like get a motel and just wash it in the bathtub and let it dry overnight, because there's no clothing optional or naked laundries in Lake Cowichan. Small town, you know. And then when I was at Ed's coffee shop over here, he's also a cyclist, and he seems to attract other cyclists, because I was talking to some ladies who just came from Duncan on the Cowichan Trail, and apparently it's a rail trail, so it's fairly flat, you know, because trains don't climb those 22% grades and then go flying down the other side. So it's fairly flat, and it's well maintained. There's some like old wooden trestles that you have to cross, which is pretty cool. And so I'm going to do that tomorrow. This will be my rest day, and probably upload this today if they have Wi-Fi at the hotel. We'll see. Imagine they do. And then tomorrow, kick off to Duncan, where the Cowichan Trail comes out. And then there's the from Duncan, I'm going south on the E and N, Esquimalt and Nanaimo rail trail. It used to be a railroad on Vancouver Island. It's been defunct now for a number of years. So, and again, rail trail, flat, smooth. And I'm not going to try and like make any distance records or anything like that. I'm not going to try and do the whole thing in 3 hours or whatever it is. 150 kilometers. No, that's not even practical. But yeah, so I'm going to be at I think it's called Mill Bay, where the trail comes out. And then you can go further south on the trail to a climb called Malahat. It's Malahat Mountain or Malahat Pass or something like that. And then that goes further down to a town called Langford. Okay, so I think I'm going to bypass that and just take the ferry across to across the Saanich Inlet to whatever ferry dock that is on the other side, and just make my way around like the top of the isthmus that is Saanich and Victoria and all that, and then just kind of follow the coast all the way down. And it's called the Galloping Goose Trail, and it comes out at, actually, if you went over the Malahat and followed the Malahat Trail down, it joins up with the Galloping Goose Trail at Langford or in that neighborhood. So I'm going to spend like a day or two, let's see how it goes, in Victoria, and then just take the highway, the Trans-Canada Highway, I think it's called, or Island Highway, north to Nanaimo, and from Nanaimo, again, follow the highway back to Port Alberni, because I am so done with logging roads. I mean, it's a great concept. You know, they offer you access to the backcountry, but no respect for cyclists, those loggers, because they got big engines in those logging trucks and they can haul those logs up hills like that. and they got no brakes coming down. So you always have to yield the way to a logging truck coming down the hill because you never know what's going to happen. Yes, that's the long and the short of it. This, like I said, this was supposed to be the first leg, and now it's like the second half of the first leg. Because here I am in Lake Cowichan, basically 12 hours late, and we'll see how it goes from here. I'm going to go check into the hotel if they even have a room. If they don't have a room, then I'll be wild camping somewhere along the Cowichan Trail. Stay tuned, folks. Get on that bike and ride.